Now I'll be showing you how to take perfect body measurements using the mannequin, and I also use myself just in case you don't have anybody to measure you, so you'll be able to take your measurements yourself. So the first thing to take is the shoulder. Some tailors call this back. That shoulder to shoulder bone is also known as back. That is the first measurement. The second measurement is the chest measurement. Now we're going to the vertical measurements first. In the dressmaking, you have to get your vertical measurements before your circumference measurement. Circumference just means the round measurements on the body. So the chest, shoulder to chest, can also be your shoulder to over bust. So you take that measurement, you write it down. You can see that's the chest area. Then shoulder. Mind you, measuring your shoulder will not be on the shoulder bone. You're going to be measuring it on the nape. That's the collarbone here. That's what we refer to as shoulder. Because when you make your dress, you're going to be slanting the shoulder. Because the shoulder is not high, it is slanted. So you begin the vertical measurement on the nape point. That's the collarbone. So shoulder to the chest here is 6 inches. Then shoulder to the bust. Your bust is the nipple point. The here is 10.5. Make sure it doesn't shift from the shoulder point. Then shoulder to under bust, it's 14 here. Make sure your tape rule is not coming to the side of the body. It must be over the bust like this. So shoulder to under bust is 14. Shoulder to the navel, that's also the waistline. When you're doing a dress, your waistline is the navel point. But if you're making a peplum blouse or a shirt or something, and it's going to have a joining, then your waist point moves to 2 inches above the navel. Because if you're going to be making a dress and the joining is on the navel, it's going to make you look like you're pregnant or something. So it's better to have the half length measurement on 2 inches above the waist. But for a normal dress, the waistline is always the navel point. That's the standard. And then now we're going to shoulder to hip. Some tailors measure this directly, but because I've discovered that some people have long waists and some have short waists, so what do? I measure from waist to hip. That's how I do mine, waist to hip. And so now we want to get the knee length. The knee length measurement, you come down to your knee, and then for the full length, you go straight down to the ankle. Now for your circumference measurement, you take, we're assuming that this mannequin has it has a hand. Okay. So if you want to measure for off the shoulder dress, you're going to measure across the hand of your customer. Make sure you're measuring everything across the hand of your customer. And so you also take the chest circumference, that's the over bust measurement. So your tape rule is going to go under the armpits, under the armhole. So make sure you also get that measurement. For those doing the off-shoulder measurement, I will tell you how to get the difference for the sleeve of the off-shoulder dress. Now, the bust, you take your tape rule round the bust, and then always ask your customer if they like their dresses very tight fitting or loose fitting. It's always important to ask, okay? And you converse with your customer because you don't know what each person wants. You ask. So you take it round the under bust too to get the measurement. And mind you, when taking your circumference measurement, ensure that you have only one finger in between the tape rule and the body. Why? Because if you're putting too many fingers in, it's going to alter the measurement. You're going to have more inches. Or just have one finger into the tape rule, in between the body and the tape rule. So that's for the under bust. Also ask if it's free enough or it's too tight. On the waist circumference, you come this way and you measure. You can see that all my measurement is ending on the metal. Where your measurement, where the tape rule meets the metal, that is the measurement you're going to write down. Where the tape rule meets the metal, that's the measurement you write. So on the hip is the largest part of the body. On the lower region, some people have their bust bigger than their hip. So on the lower region, you have the hip. On the upper region, you have the bust as the biggest size of the body. So you take that also. Okay, and then for the sleeve, if you want to measure for your sleeve, you can come this way. You place the tape rule at the edge here. For the short sleeve, if I don't have anybody around, I do this myself. I just take my hand like this, and then I get my short sleeve there. My short sleeve is 8 inches. For the elbow, I come down, I just trace it. I have about 12.5 or 13. And then for the 3/4 length, you also come like this. I have 17. And then you can also get the long length. That's your long sleeve. I'm doing this myself, so you will believe that you can do it yourself. You don't need anybody around to help you. Okay, just keep tracing down. Keep tracing down. Even if it falls from the top, make sure it doesn't shift as you continue. So my wrist measurement here is 22.5. Now to get your sleeve circumference, you have to measure your armhole round. This is how you take your armhole. For a perfect sleeve, you need the armhole circumference. So where my tape rule meets the metal, okay, that's where I'm going to record for my armhole. Here is 17.5. Like this, it must be fitted 17.5. Then for the short sleeve circumference, I'm going like this. For a beginner, you might have issues, but as you continue, you are going to get it. For my short sleeve, I don't like it too tight, so I'm okay with 12 inches. You can see it's free. For my elbow length, my circumference is 11. If you want it tighter, just adjust your tape rule. For the wrist, I'm okay with 8 inches. So this is how to take your measurement. Now for skirt measurement, you begin the skirt measurement from the waistline. Now you have to ask your customer, do you put your skirt on your tummy? Do you put it under the abdomen, or you put it maybe high waist? So wherever your customer puts their skirt band, that becomes the waist of the skirt. So you have to begin the measurement from there. You measure to the hip line to get your waist to hip, and then you measure to the knee to get your short length, and you measure to the ankle to get the full length of your skirt. Now, like I said, if your customer is putting a skirt under the abdomen, that means our waistline is no more the navel. So you must measure that abdomen, under the abdomen, as the waistline of the skirt. So you can see that there are variations in dressmaking. You can't just use a standard for it. You have to converse with the person. So under the waist here, under the navel has become the waistline for this skirt. So that's just how you take your measurement all through. Remember, you always measure your armhole circumference in order to get a perfect sleeve. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, just post it in the group and you'll get a response.